Hello, I'm Laura and I'm here at Cats Protection in Hazelmere, and I've got a story for you. This week I've got a special half-term story for you. It's going to be in 8 parts over 8 days and it's called Elmo Gets Arrested. Today I'm here with Sophie, and she's a very sweet little girl. She's a little old lady and she's had quite a hard time lately. She's not looking her best at the moment because she had some very bad knots in her fur, so we had to trim them off. And she's had to have some ear drops because she had a nasty ear infection and they've left her fur all a bit greasy. But she's a very lovely cat and I hope she's going to enjoy my story today. So we'll begin hearing about how Elmo gets arrested with chapter 1, An Intruder in the Garden. Everyone knows Elmo loves fish. Silky knows it. Mr. and Mrs. Cotton knows it. Elmo knows it best of all. It's absolutely his favourite food. There is nothing he likes better, and when he has eaten it all up, he licks his paws and purrs contentedly. He's famous in Barry Grove, where he lives now. All the neighbours know that Mr. and Mrs. Cotton adopted him from the Millbrook RSPCA Centre. He had been left alone and hungry in an empty house when the RSPCA found him, thanks to a kind neighbour. That was 6 months ago, but Elmo still remembers being hungry all the time. So, his favourite thing to do is eat. It's near the end of the summer, and Elmo is in the garden in the shade of a beautiful magnolia tree, relaxing and thinking. Cats think a lot. They can be very inscrutable, impossible for anyone to understand or imagine what might be going on in their heads. People never really know what they're doing, which is fine with every cat. That's exactly the way they like it. Elmo's whiskers twitched, and he sat up and sniffed the air. It's nearly time, he thought. When he had first been adopted, he'd been very surprised that Silky, his new cat friend, could tell the time on a clock. She is a very clever cat, and taught him too. Very useful it was indeed. They knew exactly what Mr. and Mrs. Cotton would be doing and when. This meant they could have lots of adventures without being discovered. When it comes to the important things in life, however, no cat needs a clock. They have instinct, inherited from their parents, grandparents and great-grandparents, a knowledge that is passed from one cat to another like magic. They know when a car is coming down the road even before they can see or hear it. They know the sound of the car that belongs to their owners. That's why they're always waiting for you when you get home, as if just by chance. They know if you don't feel very well and they curl up beside you to keep you company. They know when it's going to be cold or rain, and then you'll find them in the cosiest place in the house. That's if you can find them at all. However, the 2 most important things in life that a cat knows are when it's time for dinner and when it's time to sleep. They never, ever need a clock for that. Imagine, not like people who look at their watches to see if it's time for dinner or check the clock to see if it's time for bed. A cat knows precisely. They sniff the air, they listen carefully, they twitch their whiskers. They know. Elmo's whiskers twitched. He sniffed the air and he listened. "Elmo! Elmo!" called Mrs. Cotton. "Dinner time," she said. "It's fish tonight." Elmo's ears pricked up, followed by a happy wave of his tail, and he was through the cat flap in a flash. Silky was delicately nibbling her tea, but Elmo wasted no time at all. In a few minutes, it was all gone. He looked up for more. "No, Elmo, that's enough," said Mrs. Cotton. "You're getting a bit rounder than when you arrived here with us. I'm not sure it's good for you." Elmo dreamed of fish. Nothing made him happier. They washed their paws and faces like good clean cats after dinner. "Let's go outside and look around the garden, just to check everything is as it should be," said Silky. It was getting dark now. They went out through the cat flap and Elmo jumped up on the garden table, his favourite place to have a good view all around. Just then there was rustling behind a big rose bush, a scratching noise and a deep growl. "What's that?" said Elmo, turning to look at a corner of the garden, his ears pricking up on full alert, sensing danger. Silky moved first. She was quick and ran across the garden in an instant, disappearing behind the very same bush. She was small, but very brave. "Silky, what's there?" called Elmo as he jumped down off the table. "Elmo, help me!" cried Silky. Without so much as a twitch of his whiskers, he ran to help his friend. Taking a big leap, he landed on the other side of the rose bush just as a dark shadow jumped over the garden fence and out of sight. Silky was there, her back arched, ready to tackle the intruder. "Silky, are you all right? Please speak to me," Elmo pleaded. "I'm okay, Elmo, just a bit out of breath. He surprised me," said Silky. "He? Who's he?" cried Elmo, very worried. "He looked like a street cat from what I could see," she said, "very scruffy and thin." "Well, he's gone now," Elmo said, nuzzling her cheek in concern. "Let's go inside." In the kitchen, Mrs. Cotton was making a cup of tea before bed. Was all that caterwauling about you two?" she said, looking at Elmo and Silky. "You both have very strange looks on your faces. Sounded like there was a fight," she said. "If only they could speak," said Mr. Cotton, coming through the kitchen door. Elmo and Silky looked at each other. Of course they could speak. If only people paid more attention. Every meow is different and has a different meaning. For example, just plain meow is hello. Meow is I'm hungry. Continuous meow 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 means I want to go outside. It really isn't that difficult, thought Silky. "Come on, my dear," said Mr. Cotton. "It's late. Time for bed." "Yes, I'm very tired today," Mrs. Cotton replied. "Do you think we should lock Elmo and Silky in tonight, just in case there are other cats or foxes in the garden?" Elmo gave a worried look at Silky, but she blinked her eyes in reassurance. Blinking is another special way that cats talk to each other. It's like a secret code. "No, I don't think so," Mr. Cotton said. "They'll be okay. You know how Elmo meows all the time if he can't get out." "That's true, and I do need a good night's sleep," said a very weary Mrs. Cotton. They went upstairs to bed, switching the kitchen lights out as they shut the door. Silky lay down in the warm cat bed in the kitchen. "Coming to bed, Elmo?" she asked. "No, I'm going in the garden for a while," he said. "Don't be too late, Elmo. I'll worry about you," said Silky. Elmo went outside into the dark garden. His work was just beginning. With Silky and the family fast asleep, he was going to make sure he protected them all. "I'll patrol the garden and check the fences," he thought. "Then I'll find a hidden place to lie down and wait to make sure that no intruders come back." Elmo stood guard all night long. If you were very observant, you could just see his golden eyes glowing in the dark. Can you see them there? So that's the end of chapter 1. I'll bring you chapter 2 tomorrow, and I'll bring you another cat as well. I hope you've enjoyed today's story, and I look forward to bringing you the rest of it this week. Bye for now.